Hello, friends. Welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. I am on a high. I don't know if I'm coming down from the high or what, but as I record this, we just finished up the Manifest Abundance Summit a few hours ago. And so I gave myself a few hours to chill, to integrate, to celebrate, to just receive the energy, the moment. And then I wanted to jump on and have a chat, podcast, record, whatever, to process out loud. And, it was just such an amazing week. I have no words. I'm overcome with gratitude. I'm so grateful for all of the speakers, all of these incredible humans who shared their energy, their time, their wisdom. As I've said many times before, I really intentionally picked this speaker lineup. These are some of many people that have deeply impacted me, dear friends of mine, people who have been a huge part of my journey, and people who I just really want, more of my community to connect with and hear from and hear different perspectives. So I'm just really grateful for everyone there who is so generous with their time and energy, and everybody who came live. Thank you all. Or even if you watched the replays, everybody who was a part of this, we all co-created this together, and it was just so fun for me to have you, I know it was virtual, but live there, and just have these bigger conversations and feel everybody's energy and kind of have that back and forth. It's just so much more fun for me, to be honest, than just talking to a screen. And I'm really looking for ways that things can feel a lot more interactive for me, because as we talked about actually in the very last speaker was Erin Claire Jones, and we were talking about human design, and for me being a 2-4, and it's I really need that community feel. I really thrive. And so finding ways to really have that interaction, which is one of the reasons why, doing more of the video and YouTube has been great, because we get to interact in comments and I get to kind of see how you guys are feeling and where you're resonating. That's really fun for me, the community piece, and why my business now is pretty much based around my membership, because the membership is so fun to connect with people and have conversations. That's what I really live for. And one of my big passions, things I love is interviewing, and I love finding cool people and connecting people. That's my that 4 energy in my human design. So I just loved this format for so many reasons, and I think you guys really liked it too. So would love to hear feedback. I would love to do, and I plan to do more things like this in the future. And I just loved this format. So yeah, there's just such a vibration to coming live, being there live, whether it's virtual, in person, being there live is just so good when we can all come together. It's so much fun, and we really need a lot more of that. We really need community right now. So it was just so incredible this week. I had a lot of insights as well. I had taken notes, and even when you hear things that you've heard before, it just hits different. It's right time, right place, but also there's a lot of stuff that got shared that was new, and I know people had such amazing breakthroughs. So I'm just really, honestly, really proud of this summit, and huge shout out to my team for helping to put this all together, all the behind the scenes. So yeah, group effort, so much fun, really, really grateful, feeling so lit up. For me, this is really more of the direction I would love to go in, and doing more things like that. It's just really fun for me. What I was telling you guys before about coming back to my why, and why did I start this? It's why did I start my podcast? Why did I start my business? Having deep conversations, having illuminating conversations, sharing different perspectives and different ways of viewing the world. And with the Manifest Abundance Summit, it's so much about just seeing that there are different ways of viewing this. There are different ways of approaching this. And, maybe not everything resonated for you, and that's cool. But it's but what if you heard from someone who had a totally different mindset around it, or approach around it, or modality, and you were like, whoa, I've never thought of that before. Or I've never experienced this before, and maybe I want to try that on, So, big themes were freedom and liberation and joy and play and letting ourselves receive life and being present to life. There's just so much good stuff there. And yeah, feeling for me, feeling your energy and feedback and excitement is everything. So it was such a success. I feel like I'm on a high and just Oh yeah, like, and that's the thing is, do things in your life where you're giving, you're also receiving. You know, that this whole week it's like I was giving, but I was receiving. So, and that's how, you know, really kind of just with how I've perceived like moving forward with the show, and kind of changes I've made. I know you guys can like feel the frequency shift. It's like I'm like this whole, like I just want this all to be I'm receiving too, and then you receive more because I am lit up by it and we're getting to explore it together. So anyway, if you want to catch all of the replays, I'm telling you the information here like is worth tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands, if not like your entire career could explode because of this, and just like abundance in general. We talked about so much more than just money. We talked about wealth, right? And wealth consciousness, but we talked about like manifestation in general, and we talked about relationships and love, and we talked about soul gifts, spiritual gifts, and health for sure, and how it's all connected because abundance is all of that. And yeah, it was so epic. So you can go to manifestabundancesummit.com if you do want to repurchase all of the replays, because it was like just such gold. Manifestabundancesummit.com. And you can head there. So wanted to give a little recap. And it's been an interesting week for me. As I feel my life right now is in this phase, and I'm sharing this as I'm in it because I think it can be helpful to kind of, yeah. I'm taking you guys on the journey. Like my life is in this phase where a lot of stuff is untangling and rearranging, and I don't know where it's rearranging to. Like, and I'm getting little, you know, I'm getting the one step and I'm like, okay, that feels good. So I'm just following that one step, but then I don't know what the next step is. And it's like light bulbs are like, they're showing me I'm walking down a hallway and it's just pitch black. But as I get closer, like I walk forward and then the light above me turns on and then I can see the next 2 to 3 feet. And then I keep walking and it's dark, and then I'm there and then the light bulb turns on. I can see the next 2 to 3 feet. And it's like, I'm just kind of in that. And that's kind of how it feels with like getting illumination. I feel like I'm getting a new step, or I'm getting clarity every day. And every part of my ego is like, you know, wanting to like understand where I'm going or how this is going to work out. This isn't making any sense, but I'm being trained and remembering on a soul level. Like I don't need to figure that out. Like I get to just be excited about where I am being led. And so this week was interesting because, you know, the summit was going on, and I don't know, it just felt really important this week for me, because there were so many shifts at the summit, and this is something I've been so excited to do and something I haven't done before, but I know feels so right. Like this is something like for a long time in my business, I always was like, yeah, I want to be hosting summits and big events and bringing people together, bringing different speakers together. Cause I do feel it's one of my gifts is like finding really cool next level people. Interviewing is one of my gifts, is one of my favorite things to do. So that was really fun, and kind of bringing in something else into my business. But at the same time, it was like, okay, right now there's all this stuff going on with my house, and because I'm, you know, overnight get the guidance to move. So getting ready to sell this house and, you know, painting and fixing things. And there's just been people in and out, and like, I've got to leave, and then we're going here. There's been kind of a lot of chaos. And at the same time, just with the timing, my new book, The White Tablets of Melchizedek, The White Tablets of Melchizedek, that's coming out in a couple of weeks, which I'm like, holy shit, how is this coming out so quickly? And so there's been a lot of stuff like with the book writing process, it kind of happens in spurts. So it's sort of like, okay, you know, after the manuscript is completed, it's kind of like the production team is handling a bunch of things, and then I'll get things delivered back that then I need to kind of binge work on, edit, like fix, like that kind of thing. And then get sent back to them, and they're working on the next iteration of it, you know, setting up the Amazon pages and the description and the interior design and the book cover. And every time something gets adjusted with the interior, so once you take the manuscript and you put it into the book, basically, like that's all designed, right? every time they do that and they update it, I basically reread the entire book because sometimes things are off with spacing or like stuff like that. So it's just kind of this like weird timing thing, and I just have to kind of be available and ready. And so this week was one of those weeks where I was also doing a lot of stuff around the book, and that's coming up. That's coming up very quickly. So it was just kind of interesting as I was watching how like these different pieces of my life are juggling and moving, and I'm actually leaving in the morning, which I'm really excited about. I'm leaving in the morning, and I'm going to New Mexico next week, which I'm pumped about. I feel like it's going to be so good for my soul to get clarity, and just really kind of being forced to figure out these practices that for me are keeping me grounded. And what it really is it's like feeling grounded in water energy. So there's a couple things I want to talk about. One is, I've been thinking a lot about the nervous system, which we talked about in the summit, and staying in parasympathetic state. And I think a lot of us are like, we're feeling the buzz more. We're feeling kind of urgency, or we're more aware of what's going on around us. I know for me, it's like, okay, the more grounded I get into my body, the more my senses are really on. And then as I'm picking up all this other stimulation, how do I ground it? And as these different pieces of my life are moving, and as I'm in this transformation, how am I still grounded in the moving? And when we talk about grounding, we think of the earth, right? And we need to be earthing right now. We need to be in nature. We've been talking about this. We have to. These are like essential nutrients. This is essential. And, being in nature, being on the earth, but there's this other thing that's coming in of like remembering that we are water beings. Like we are water beings, and actually something really grounding is being in the water and being grounded in the flow of it. And think about the difference of, so Mother Nature is the divine feminine energy, we can say that, but there's also that masculine energy of like groundedness, earth, right? If we look at like the elements in astrology, and it's cool because as I'm talking about this, this is what we covered in so much in this summit, like in different ways. We didn't talk about this specifically, but this all links back to things that we talked about in the summit, like astrology and the elements. And it's funny because I'm like, well, this is part of what got activated for me, right? The guides are bringing this in. And they were basically telling me, like showing me about like the new aspect, not replacing, maybe in the future, I'm not going to say replacing, incorporating into it, like having this actually balance of masculine and feminine energy within our grounding practices is water as like a grounding practice. So like the earth element we think of in astrology, it's a bit more masculine because it's structure, right? It's like 3D stuff. It's like what's got to get done, getting grounded, getting into the earth plane. There's something like rooting about that, right? Like it's a root chakra, like masculine energy, divine masculine, which is really great and beautiful. But then there's also this like the water element and like the ocean, like divine feminine, like she is moving. If I look like ocean versus ground, right? Ocean has more of that divine feminine flow, and they both have both, right? Earth and ocean both have both feminine and masculine, as does everything. But that was a really interesting thing that they're bringing forward. If you're like, what if the flow is the grounding? And they're connecting this back to like how a lot of our soul memory getting unlocked right now is Lemurian and Atlantean, and our essence as water-based beings. And so, this is one of the reasons why the conversation with Tracy Dews, like she was in the summit and she is a hydration expert. And this is important for our physical health. Water is something we think of as, it's like so like basic, just drink water. It's so much more complex than that. And I'm not an expert on it. She knows a lot. So check out her content and re-listen to that in the summit. But it's like, okay, why are people drinking water and they're still dehydrated? Well, what's the structure of the water? Like, how is it filtered? Is it filtered? Can we vortex it? What about all of the other things in our environment that dehydrate us, like EMFs, things like that? The deuterium in water, like those are all nuances of water and why we're like dehydrated, right? And like we are water-based beings. We're made up mostly of water. And water stores memory and the Akashic records, and we know that we can like change our bodies by speaking affirmations that are changing the molecular structure of the water in our bodies, and we can like shift the water we're drinking and our foods. Like this is all connected. And so as I've been feeling into, being grounded in all this transition, and as a lot of things are going on, like what is that looking like? They show me the image of like water flowing, like a river flowing, and somebody just like peacefully letting it take them. Right? Just like I'm chill. I'm relaxed and the water's just taking me. And it's like that's grounded in the flow. Right? So what that represents is how can I be grounded fully in the flow of life, where as life is happening, it's always moving and changing. Am I freaking out like, oh, I have to go here, I have to go there, I'm stressed out, I have this going on? Or is it like I'm just flowing between things, and I have found in my life, because I've always been somebody that's like doing a bunch of stuff, like it's just my nature. Not everybody's like me, and that's great. But I feel like this is one of the things, like I'm like this to master this, to like learn the depths of this and the shadow and the light of it. And it's what I have found is the less I think about it, the better. It's sort of like if the ocean is trying to take me somewhere, right? And like the ocean is more powerful than me. The force of the water is more powerful stronger than I am. If I'm trying to swim, I can either put all this effort into overthinking it. Where am I going? And well, how do I get here? And like, how am I going to make this work? It's like, just let the ocean take you and chill. And people ask me things like, how do you do all this? Blah, blah. And I'm like thinking about my week. And I was like, this past week of my life, I mean, a lot of my life, to be honest, but especially this past week, I'm like, most people would like actually not have, like literally not have been able to do this time-wise. And I'm like, how did that happen? Like it's Friday this week. I was like, how did that happen? I was like, well, everything I was doing, I was like, had the energy for, because it was aligned and it was a yes. And I was like, let's go. But the other piece was I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it. And this is sometimes why I don't like to time block. This is so funny because I have been trying to, I need more structure, actually. I feel like I let go too much of my divine masculine, to be honest. I know people might not believe that, but whatever. It's been clear to me that that's what's happened. And I'm like, I don't like to time block, because I like to know what I'm doing that day, and like I like have a plan and a start time for certain things, but I don't like to time block because I feel like it sometimes, and this wouldn't be true always, okay, but like for me, if I looked at all the things like on Monday that I had to do on Tuesday, and I was like, okay, let me map this all out through time blocks, like this time to this time, it probably logically wouldn't have worked. But instead, I just had a list of these are the things I'm doing, and this is the order in which I'm doing them. And also with that, some things, this is how much time I'm giving it, like 30 minutes. Because if we let it just be open-ended, sometimes we can let it, like sometimes if we time block it and we say this is going to take me 15 minutes, then we can get it done in 15 minutes. But if we say it'll take me 30 minutes, it'll take us 30 minutes, So, but I didn't put like start time here, or like, okay, summer ends at this time, and then after this, from this time to this time, I'm working on this, because then I would have mapped it out and it logically wouldn't have worked. Instead, I just go through one thing at a time, and somehow all the time it happened. Don't think about it too much. It's like if you in the morning you're running late and you're like, let's expand some time, I need 10 extra minutes. Do not keep looking at the clock. Do not think about it. Don't think about it, right? But I've also been, really working on being fully present. We talked a lot about that, and like what can help calm me down and like keep me grounded amidst it. And it's like rushing from thing to thing is not helpful. Like being in the energy of rushing. How can I calm down and like let myself have this space. And I think that's a big thing for all of us to tune into. It's like, where do I feel like I'm rushing something? And I have been really thinking about, like, you know, the energy of creating my life. And also when I'm doing all these things where I'm following my joy, if it feels like there's time pressure around it, it creates this kind of like anxious feeling. But like when I'm creating art, you can't tell me how long it's going to take me to create art, you know? And that's the thing, is like when there's these time constraints around, like, this is how long the call is going to be, or the session's going to be, or the podcast. It's like, I don't know. Like, maybe it's going to be 10 minutes, maybe it's going to be 20 minutes, it's going to be 2 hours. Like, this is art. I can't tell you how long it's going to take you to paint my artwork. It's just going to take me how long it takes me, you know? And I think there's a real opportunity here for us to explore our lives from that perspective. And like, where am I rushing? Where am I not letting myself experience the fullness of the magic, or really like be in that creation? Because I'm always like, okay, well, when do I have to go to the next thing? And this is all really connected to like the big theme for me right now is like nervous system and parasympathetic, and what are the things that are keeping us in a consistent state of like stress, essentially. Because I think a lot of us have that consistent state of stress or buzzing, or there's always too much on my mind, and we don't even realize all the things that are in our energy field, in our energy bodies, that we're holding that we don't need to. And one of the big things that's been coming through for sure that I want to share here, like for me, because the way it works is that I mirror the collective. And I don't mean the general collective. I mean the collective as this collective, this community. I mirror it. So whatever energies are coming up for me are always also coming up for the people in my field. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Would love to bypass that, but whatever. One of these things is like, I feel like over time I've been becoming more and more aware of and accepting of, because to be honest, this wouldn't work for me overnight. Like, we think that we can accept things instantly, and like, can we? Yes. But a lot of us, like when we think about preparation or I'm ready, like it actually is a very generous thing that the universe gives us time. It can be a very generous thing that we get time to get to where we want to go. It's not that things can't change instantly. They can, but sometimes is at the optimal path. Sometimes it's actually very loving and generous of our higher selves, of the universe, to give us some time to feel into it, you know, and for that to feel like a more authentic vibration that we're living from. And what's been coming up for me a lot is just realizing, like, when I tune into really living my joy and my mission and my excitement and all that, all the things that we talked about all week in the summit, it kind of has come back to, and I keep thinking, wow, like this is all connected to like, how weird can I let myself get? And for me, that has always hit a really deep wound around being misunderstood. I've shared this before, like this is one of my deepest wounds. It was a really deep wound for me as a kid, because I was seeing things and hearing things, and I knew things that other people around me couldn't pick up on. And I was really experiencing this whole other world that was so clear to me that other people weren't seeing. And I felt really misunderstood, because I would tell myself, like, nobody can understand me. And I knew I felt more deeply than the people around me. And I could feel like, and I could hear people's thoughts. So I could hear when people were like, I don't get it. Like, what is she saying? What is she talking about? You know, and like talking to my friend on the playground when I'm little, and I'm like, there's literally another person next to my friend, and I'm saying, hey, there's this person next to you. They look like this. They're saying this. And my friend is like, there's no one next to me. You know, it's like that's difficult as a kid to deal with, or just feeling the intensity of the emotions around me, and like feeling so much suffering. And like, I could feel adults in my life just like couldn't understand why I was so deeply impacted by what they felt like were little things or things that weren't affecting me. Like I remember like just walking into the living room, like walking through the kitchen, through the living room to do whatever, and the news would be on in the background, and I would hear some sad piece of news, because that's what the news is. It's like only sad news, and I would literally, like, it would hit me like a ton of bricks, and I would feel that so deeply, like, and feel for those people or that person, and like I would just have to go to my room and I'd fall apart, like that sadness, and I could feel that other people around me were like, I know it's sad, but like it was like the inference was I was overreacting, or like it is what it is. I didn't know how to deal with all of this at a young age, and as I got older, I always felt like I was just misunderstood. I always felt like there was always going to be this kind of like gap between me and the people around me, and it wasn't until I feel like I had more of an opportunity to connect with so many different people. Like, thank you, internet. Thank you, like, becoming an adult, like getting out of my town, and like, and I started meeting totally different types of people, and I had like more of an opportunity to really attract in that soul family where I finally felt seen, and I understood what it felt like to be understood. But I know that as I have grown and evolved, I consistently will hit this point where I'm at this edge of, if I keep going further into where I want to expand into, I can feel that the current people around me are not going to understand me anymore. I can feel that. And I know you guys can relate to this in whatever way you can. And so then the choice is, okay, do I stay here so that people can get me? Or do I keep pushing forward and it's like basically owning your weird and getting weirder and like releasing control and go into that space where the current people around me maybe can't get it and can't understand. But then there's this whole other group of people who I know will see me at that level. And I'm feeling that, like, as I feel different gifts that I have that are meant to be actually more of what I'm focusing on now, topics I'm covering, like, I'm like, with, things I'm excited about, and I'm like, oh, this is like for a totally different group of people. And I think a lot of the conversations that I used to have with people in my life, I'm like, I've outgrown it, and I want to have different conversations, and I've been opening myself to new energy, to new people, expanding my circle, and I've been attracting in really cool people, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. This is like a new iteration. And it's interesting to be in that space where you're like very conscious and aware of these two versions of yourself at the same time. And more than that, right? But let's just say like these two versions of yourself where it's like you are this expanded version and this like next iteration of you. You are that version here, and you are this other version here, and you're kind of like in the middle ground. And there's this period where it's like, am I going to fully anchor into this version that's actually exciting me? Because the things that, and this is what we talked about in the summit, lit us up before and were exciting before and we were curious about before, like, what happens is the contracts end and things get stale, and we've got to update that. We've got to update that. And that's really what's keeping a ton of people stuck right now. The guides have been saying is that a lot of people have just really outgrown contracts. And so they're hitting resistance everywhere. And this could be your home. This could be your friend group. And it's not obvious for people because they think something has to be wrong, or like we're so used to, I only end it if there's a fallout or something bad happens. But it's like, if you're just feeling like everything is stuck or resistance, you're bored, you're feeling like I can't get past this cusp, this edge, it's like, where am I too bored? Or like, what have I outgrown? Just because I'm different. And I think a lot of us really need some like fresh energy, some new routines, some like going to different places. And that's the thing about, traveling. Like, we know that it opens up different portals for us. It opens up different energies. It helps us access different parts of ourselves. It activates different gifts and memories, like just going to different places on the land. You can have other memories from different lifetimes turn on, different abilities turn on. That might be where you need to go to meet a certain people. Like the land activates different areas, hold different things, different codes. And you can look at your astrocartography. That's what I was just doing as I'm like exploring, where do I want to go next? Where do I want to travel? And for me, I looked at, different places I had in mind, and then what are the energies there, if any. And I kind of have a plan of different places I'm going to travel because they're all hitting different lines in my astrocartography to open up different parts of myself, like the self-reflective part, like going to a Pluto line, going to a Venus line, going to a Jupiter line, and like feeling those different energies, to feel these different iterations of ourselves and to see what opens up. But think about all the people that like live in one place, hang out with the same people, do a different version of the same thing every day. And then they wonder why they're just feeling stuck and stale and not inspired. Like, we're meant to move and change, And I think like I'm so here for honoring the grief around endings in terms of, everything, but like the phases of our lives. And I totally understand the ego death, like I get it. But I also feel like I've hit this point with myself where I'm just like, I can't spend energy resisting what's gonna happen. I can't spend energy resisting where my soul is taking me. Like, and I think sometimes we can get so caught up in like the sadness and like I'm scared, and it's like, but in your heart of hearts, do you know that it's gonna change? Do you know you're going to release this? So it's like, are you going to spend all this time being sad about it? Like, I'm not saying to bypass the emotion. Please don't. Like, feel that. Honor that. But I think for myself, I'm just like, I only have so many fucks to give, And it's like, okay, at a certain point, I can recognize I'm sad about that and feel the sadness. And then I'm like, okay, let's just get excited. Let's just get excited about it. Because it's like the contract is up. And what's happening next? What's the next iteration? And I feel like where we are being led next. So this is what the energy is. A lot of people are, they're showing me all this. Okay. You might not even realize how stale the energy is that you're in. Like, you're with the same people in the same location, in the same job, whatever. Like, it's not that you have to change everything, but like something has become too normalized. Something has become too normal, too consistent, and you have been changing and you've outgrown it. And now your soul is like, make a move. This has got to change. This has got to move. And you're not, because you're comfortable. And then you're feeling this like, oh, how come I can't manifest my partner? Or how come I can't find this? Or no matter what I do, I never feel fully satisfied, and tuning into that question of like, what would really satisfy my heart space? Right. And they're like, you have to make a change. Like you're going to have to make a change. So you're going to have to maybe meet new people, or like change up your daily routine, or go to a different coffee shop, or maybe you need to travel. Like we have to start moving the energy around. We have to, because like part of this stuckness, this staleness is that different contracts want to turn online, different like activations want to happen in different areas of the earth. Specifically, there's different pieces of you, because this lifetime is about accessing and living as your full spectrum, multidimensional self. Right? And so it's not going to feel like enough for you to only be feeling and living from the energies that you experience just in this one place. When you go different places, you feel differently, because the area holds different energy, the people around, the cultures, but also just like your interaction, your unique energy body, your astrology, like with that land, your soul memory. And so we need this energy of movement right now. It's really, really important. And with this topic of manifestation, the guys are just like, look, a lot of you are trying to manifest something, but you're also committed to everything in your life being the same. And so it's like, then nothing's going to change. So what do you want? Do you want the thing you're manifesting, or do you want to stay the same? You have to be willing to change something, whether it's a belief, something you do in your life, like friends, whatever. But why are you assuming it's going to be worse? Like, if you're aligned with what you desire, if that's what the intention you're setting and things in your life are trying to move, it's because your higher self is trying to take you there. This just went in a very different direction than I thought I was going to go. I was like kind of hoping we could talk about the nervous system today, but that topic, they're saying, I have Archangel Raphael, Archangel Ariel, and Isis here at front, and they're saying this is going to be a conversation that we open up and we continue, and that's part of why. You just want to come in? That's part of why we encouraged Christina to change the format of this so that this could feel more conversational and this could feel like a continuation. You're in this exploration with her, because how she receives information is a drip. It is bit by bit every single day, and she puts things together. And that is actually very regulating for the nervous system. That is actually very helpful for full integration, because sometimes you can receive all of this information at the same time at once. It can feel like too much. You're not fully energetically available for or vibrationally available for, so it doesn't integrate. So it can actually be a really powerful gift to fully receive it and integrate it when you get this drip and you get bits of the previous message delivered to you in different ways over time. And so we want you to know that the format of this is very intentional, and everything is very intentional. And one of her big lessons right now is getting fully out of the way, which is what she's talking about in terms of how much can you let go? How weird can you get? It really is this releasing control from the space of the ego. And she has been seeing where all of the little places that she has still been trying to control from her ego, and that's nuanced. And that gets to be a continuous exploration. But this conversation around how to balance your nervous system and regulate your nervous system if you're feeling ungrounded, the piece we're trying to bring forward here is that soul family, soul aligned people in your life regulates your nervous system, as does being in the location that is correct for you in the moment. This regulates your nervous system. So we can talk about very tangible things. We can talk about turning off your Wi-Fi and eating grounding foods and perhaps more protein and making sure you're getting your minerals and earthing on the ground. We can talk about things like that are important. But the bigger things that are feeling extremely dysregulating for you right now are where you are in situations where the contract has ended, where you have outgrown it, where there is not vibrational resonance, and so you are consistently feeling the non-resonance in your system, and you're always picking up on that vibrational gap, and you perceive that as a low-level stressor or a low-level anxiety, because that is what regulation is. It is the things around me, within me, this is all resonant, this is all coherent. And so picking up on things that are not coherent, including, where is my ego guiding me? Where is my ego telling me one thing when my soul is telling me something else? So when you are living from your ego and your soul is shouting at you something else, you are living in the state of incoherence, non-resonance. And so you feel this stress because your soul is saying, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. And that is going to be felt more and more intensely by all of you as time goes on. And so it is the relationships that you have in your life. It is your career. It is all of the large pieces of your life. Is this in alignment? Is this not? The space that you live in, your home, the location that you live in, how you're spending your time. These are things that many of you are resisting looking at, but how far are you going to need to be pushed? It's taking a toll on your physical health. And so that's the different angle of living in a regulated state is alignment. when you are feeling joy and excitement and inspired by your daily life, this is you living your mission. And when you're living your mission fully, and when you are committed to making choices based on vibrational resonance and what feels correct for your soul in this moment, which can change day to day, now you live in a consistent state of regulation. But notice where you're feeling dysregulated or you're feeling anxiety because your soul is crying out to you that something else needs to happen. And for many of you, there's a conversation that needs to be happened. There's a truth that needs to be revealed. There is something that you get to identify that you need to feel good, to feel grounded, to feel supported, to feel seen, to feel understood. And you get to communicate that. And you have to be willing to see how people are going to respond. And they are going to respond how they respond. That's their choice. That's their responsibility. Where are you holding on to a lot of extra energy and anxiety unnecessarily because you are so worried about how other people are going to perceive you? You really can't control that. You actually can't control that at all, because even when you put so much time and effort into being perceived a certain way, certain people are still not going to perceive you that way, or they're going to pick up on the energy that you're trying so hard to be perceived a certain way. You are being forced into authenticity and really a new understanding of what being authentic is, and understanding that what's authentic shifts and changes for you over time, but you're going to feel the inauthenticity, you're going to feel the being off mission as a dysregulation in your nervous system, right? And part of your mission is in your daily life, what would feel resonant for me right now? What do I really need? And this is about honoring yourself. This is a really important concept to grasp. When you really see yourself, you're looking for other people to see you, each and every one of you. You feel good when people really see you. Do you really see yourself? And many of you feel like, yes, I do see myself. How come other people don't see how incredible I am, or they don't see the real me? Seeing yourself includes honoring yourself and respecting yourself the same way that you want other people to. And so what that looks like is in the morning, when you see and honor yourself as the god, the goddess, the king, the queen that you are, all of those things, how do you treat yourself? How do you make decisions? So when you're choosing for other people, when you're people pleasing, when you are half-assing things because you put everybody else above you, are you respecting yourself and honoring yourself or not? Because when you live in a state of respect, true respect, divine reverence for yourself and honor for yourself, you make very different choices about how you treat yourself, what you prioritize, how you take care of yourself. Moment to moment, what are you deciding? You're starting to tune into what is for my highest and best, what does my soul need right now? And when you start to do that, other people feel that energy shift and other people can actually start to see you. But you have to start truly, truly respecting yourself. And so that's the question. The question is, how could I show more respect for myself? If I truly honored myself, if I had divine reverence for myself, for my gifts, because you all have gifts. You all have unique gifts. Some of you might have gifts that are tangible skills. Others have gifts that are more energies, frequencies you bring. If you really saw those gifts, really saw them, you would, of course, respect and deeply honor them. And then you would see them differently about what is the most aligned, exciting way that preserves how beautiful and precious these gifts are. What is that aligned way of bringing this into the world? And how am I going to treat myself? Is overworking myself allowing me to really bring this gift to the world in the highest, most aligned way. If you saw yourself as the most world-renowned singer, the most renowned singer in the world, would you overuse your voice? No, you would rest it. You would prioritize the health of your voice so that when it's time to perform on stage, sing, live your passion, share your gift, it was fully ready to be shared. You wouldn't overuse it. You would take care of it. You would think about, how can I support it? What are the things I need to do? Because I am the most well-known and loved and respected singer in the whole world. Would you treat yourself differently than if you thought you just liked to sing and maybe some people like it, but it's not your career? You treat yourself differently. So this comes back to, are you really seeing your gifts? You have to see them first for other people to see them and for you to feel seen. And you know, if you are really seeing your gifts, if you divinely respect them, you will start to make different decisions to show that respect, to show how much you honor and love those precious, precious gifts. And then when you can finally see them, you share them at their most potent frequency, and others who can actually see them, who have the vibrational capacity to see them, can find you. And that is how you feel understood. And that feels safe in the body. That feels regulating. That feels expansive. That feels abundant. It doesn't feel tiring. It doesn't feel exhausting. It feels aligned. And it feels like freedom. So how can you better honor your gifts? That's the question. Well, that feels like a complete message. Let me know. Let me know what that brings up for you. So, we'll see what continues to unravel. Where do you feel guided next? Life is like, a game. It really is like a game. This is why one of my favorite games when I was little was the game of life. Wonder why. All right. Leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. Let me know how this feels for you. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button if you did enjoy this and if you appreciated this. If you're listening on the podcast, take a screenshot, share it to social media. Let me know what you think. Always appreciate all of those shares and all the love and helping to grow this community. So that's going to be it for today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will chat with you again next time.